conversation about the hiring of Ronna McDaniel by NBC recently. That's the big scandal, right? So the reason I want to do this video is because there's some people who are conflating what happened with, people trying to make a hypocrisy argument, and they're trying to switch things to an issue regarding hiring people directly from government, right? So she was an RNC chair, and now she's going to be working in the media. So people are complaining about that type of thing. And then there's also people talking about the idea of NBC hiring a right-winger, right? NBC being a liberal news network, hiring a right-winger. I think these are distorted conversations. These are dishonest conversations. These are missing the mark. Now, certainly there are some people who are concerned about them hiring a right-winger, right? That's something that people are legitimately concerned about. But I think the real issue, and to look at this from a nonpartisan standpoint, right? So what does that mean? I am not going to agree or disagree with the NBC position, but I'm going to state their position and show NBC's hypocrisy, right? So, Ronna McDaniel, per NBC's rhetoric, represents a threat to democracy. Again, this is my nonpartisan look. I'm looking at this, basically, this is NBC's position, right? NBC talks about January 6th as being a big threat to democracy. It was this horrible thing, right? In this video, I'm not gonna share my point of view on that because that's not what the video is about. But this is their stated position, right? Well, she was directly involved in that. She was directly connected to that. She's directly connected to the very behavior that NBC has been promoting to their viewers as this big threat to democracy, right? Listen to them and follow their rhetoric. And she's not only a threat to democracy, but I would think she's even potentially criminal. Some of the stuff that she's done, I mean, I think NBC might make that kind of an argument, right? Again, I'm just following along with what NBC has said and their positions, and trying to match it with their current actions of hiring Ronna McDaniel. So, if we are to believe their rhetoric about threat to democracy and January 6th was a big deal, which I want to be clear, it was, right? But this is what they've been pushing. The idea of hiring someone, right? You're now going to pay someone. And why is she getting paid? She's not getting paid for fun or just as a charity thing, right? She's getting paid, and they're hiring her directly because of her connection with the RNC and, this thing that's supposedly a big threat. So essentially, it's like NBC is rewarding her for stuff that they are telling their viewers are a threat to democracy and it's so dangerous and blah, blah, blah. So I think that's the real problem. It doesn't matter that she is a right-winger, although part of NBC's audience certainly would be concerned about that, but that's their problem, right? You got people with all kinds of viewpoints. So you're certainly gonna have people that are all, they like their bubble. They don't want, they don't want this right-winger on their liberal network. Okay, whatever, but who cares about those guys, right? What would really be important, again, is the clash between the rhetoric they've been pushing out and hiring her. I mean, that's insane. I mean, it's on a lower level the same type of thing as NBC again hiring Donald Trump. Think about that. You think if they were to hire Donald Trump as a contributor, people would be talking about, why are they hiring a right winger? Or, this guy was a former president. How's he going to work? You think people will be talking about that? Like, let's be honest. If they were to hire Donald Trump, I don't think anybody will be talking about that stuff, right? The conversation would be, again, a misalignment of the previous rhetoric with the current action. They have promoted the idea that Trump is the ultimate threat to democracy, right? He's a criminal, he's a fraud, a buffoon, whatever. So to then turn around and hire the guy, now you're going to pay the guy, it just undermines the whole thing that you've been saying previously, right? Now, if I were one of these dishonest actors online, Matt Taibbi or what's that other clown? I don't remember his name. All these, that circle, right? The Twitter files circle. I would stop where I've gone so far, right? I talk about NBC's rhetoric. I am basically sort of, if the way that I'm speaking, I'm sort of undermining their rhetoric and saying it doesn't really mean anything. And then that's where I would leave you, right? Because I want to promote for profit the idea that January 6th wasn't a big deal and there is no threat to democracy. And this is proof that it's all nonsense. But because I have integrity and I'm not these guys, that's not where I'm going to end this. That's not where I'm going to leave this. I'm going to take it further and say, it's not that there's no threat to democracy. It's not that these things are not serious, but it is that it doesn't matter to NBC, right? That's the disconnect, right? It's not NBC's words are meaningless and not truthful and not valid. It's that it doesn't mean anything to them, right? The threat to democracy affects us, right? We the people, regular Americans. These multi-millionaire elites working at NBC, they're gonna be all right, right? Because whatever, generally speaking, whatever craziness Trump is planning is gonna benefit people like them, people at the top with multiple millions of dollars, right? So when they fairmonger to their audience, right, it's all for views and clicks. But just like these independent media folks, this stuff doesn't matter to them. It's just content, right? So the rhetoric about threat to democracy, it's valid, but again, it's disconnected from NBC's actual position, which is this is just content. We don't really care. We're gonna pretend to care. Oh my God, it's democracy, right? But that's all entertainment, just for clicks. So they're saying true things, valid things, but with just a lack of actual caring about it, right? So to me, that's the problem, right? Hiring Ronna McDaniel undermines their position before, but it makes total sense if you understand what's really going on. The fact that the stuff they're saying, they're just saying stuff that to fairmonger to their viewer, but they don't actually care about this stuff. They're actually, oh my goodness, I don't know what's happening in our country. No, that's theatrics, right? So of course they would hire Ronna McDaniel, right? Hire her for access or whatever, because they don't care. They don't really care about this stuff. Just like Jimmy Dore doesn't care, just like Steven Crowder doesn't care, Tim Pool doesn't care, that crazy Canadian guy who talks about Trump every day doesn't care, Matt Taibbi doesn't care. I mean, the list goes on and on, right? This is all just content for them. We're the ones who have to suffer the consequences, right? Whatever the threat of democracy is, it's a threat to us, not to them, right? They don't really care. Which is why, for example, they help the situation by, for example, the Democrats rigging the election in their favor in terms of, anyone that tries to challenge them, right? They just make sure that you don't go anywhere, right? A person like a Bernie Sanders, gets smeared and shut down, right? NBC is not gonna go after the DNC for rigging the election and keeping this monopoly and blocking anybody else from challenging them, right? Because they benefit from the threat to democracy, right? The crazier things are, the more interesting their content is, therefore the more money they make. So those of you looking and saying Joe Biden's a weak candidate and he's a threat to democracy because having him be on the ballot is the only thing giving Trump a chance of winning, right? So if NBC really cared about threat to democracy, they would have been calling this out and saying, listen, the Democrats need to be open to other people running in the races. They'd be more honest about the issues with Joe Biden, right? Not just focusing on Trump, right? They'll be focusing on issues with Biden as well. They would call out Biden for what he promised to do versus what he actually did. All that stuff, they'll be calling out, putting more pressure on the Democrats, which makes the Democrats, if you shine a light on them, exposing them, you're going to force them to have to do more. And by forcing them to have to do more, the threat of democracy goes away. How on earth can Trump have a chance of winning if the Democrats are really going all out and trying their best to deliver the best they can, the most they can? If NBC was pushing the Democrats to deliver more, Trump would not have a chance, and therefore there'd be no threat, right? So again, the threat to democracy rhetoric is valid, but they don't actually care, right? They're in their I don't know what fortress, their elite fortress, right? But we're the ones who are going to suffer the consequences. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Click on the like button. Thanks for joining the live stream. Any questions, comments, comment below. And I guess the final point is they talk about people are talking about like, oh, there's other people who are like, for example, what's the name? The former Biden press secretary who is working for MSNBC right now. Don't conflate the two. She has definitely lied. She's definitely manipulated the people, but she was not involved in any kind of insane scandal the way Ronna McDaniel was, right? And I also want to make it very clear. I am one of the few people, right, who I am strongly against people going from government into media. I can't. It is grotesque to me that Kayleigh McEnany is working in Fox News, and also, oh my goodness, whatever the person, I keep forgetting her name, whatever the press secretary for Biden that's working at MSNBC. I think that's disgusting. I don't want to see people from our government going from government to working for the media. The media and government are already too close. I don't like to see it, right? I also am one of the few people who, like you, I don't see anyone else pointing this out. You got people on the left like to call out Fox News for how partisan they are and whatever. And I'm like, true, but Fox News is better than liberal media in one particular sense, and that is in terms of the diversity of voices, right? They love, and so ironic, the left-wing media loves to highlight this liberal on the five, right? When she goes and she demolishes them, right? But who is that person in left-wing media? When the left gets it wrong, and they do, where is the conservative to point this out? Because the conservative is not going to point out because they're better than the liberals, but because they're living in two different bubbles, right? And the conservative bubble, the whole point is to oppose the left. So if the left actually makes a mistake, the right is typically going to see it because that's their whole focus is to, oh, they suck because of this, they suck because of that. Now, there's a lot of misinformation and lies that can spread from the right. However, if the left does genuinely make a mistake, chances are a conservative is going to recognize it before a left-winger will, because left-wingers are watching left-wing media, which generally focuses on critiquing the right. So they're going to be more blind to issues coming from their side. So having a conservative voice on these shows, I'm a strong advocate for that. I think they need to have it. You know, a good example was when they were having this conversation about the horse paste. Left-wing media could have really benefited from a decently honest, I know it's challenging to find honest people, but a decently honest right-winger to point out some of the misinformation that was being spread regarding the so-called horse paste. But instead we had this bubble. Everyone's on the same page. Oh, horse paste, horse paste, horse paste, horse paste. Oh, da, 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 da. Right? So there was information that people were missing. Also the Jacob Blake story. Right? If we had a conservative on these shows, that conservative could have pointed out, hey guys, there's actually a second camera angle, there's actually a 911 call, there's actually these other details that no one's talking about, right? Let the liberals defend that position, just like how on the 5 when the liberal woman, whatever her name is, when she says stuff, they have to defend their stuff, and either they can or they can't, right? But there was no person in left-wing media to say, hey guys, you're wrong on this. So I'm a strong advocate. So don't put me in that camp of like, oh, because they hired a right-winger. Please hire a right-winger on all the left-wing shows and liberal shows. Please have that alternate voice. Even if they are on there saying something that's incorrect, we'll crush them. If they're saying something incorrect, crush them. Show them how they're incorrect, right? And then every once in a while, they're going to say something that's actually true. And I want to watch you guys flip around and bend yourself in pretzels and try to justify, because they're probably not going to want to back down, just like the 5. They're gonna be like, no. But the audience, let the audience see how your arguments aren't holding up. But the idea, when I watch left-wing media, it's all this echo chamber. Like the perfect example is the what's it called, the leftist mafia. I mean, it's like a circle jerk. You have all these left-wingers, and Trump this, and everybody just nodding their heads, and I'm just like, I don't want to see that, man. I'd rather watch the 5. I don't watch it, but I'd rather watch the 5 and see those guys say some nonsense, and then have the liberal on there school them, right? And you're a right-winger, you might think she's not schooling them and she's wrong and they're right. Fine, but you get to see the two viewpoints, right? So if you were misled, she might open your eyes and be like, oh wow, I didn't realize that. Oh wow, I thought this, da-da-da. Right? So at least there's a chance of you like seeing some stuff that you weren't aware of. Even though we know some people, they're not gonna hear it. But I think it's important to have those voices. So please hire a right-winger. But like I said, my other issue is I don't like hiring from the government. So can you hire someone who's a conservative, who is not, I would say if you're gonna hire somebody that was in government, it has to be a long time ago. Somebody who's not currently engaged. It shouldn't be someone who just left a government position, or you know, like an RNC chairperson, you know, that's not government, but you know what I mean? Someone who's actually involved. If it's somebody who, you know, 10, 20 years ago was, you know, may have worked in an administration, I think that's a little bit different. But ideally, I would like to hear from maybe a right-wing pundit, or just someone who is conservative, and also very knowledgeable about politics and what's been going on, and maybe they vote for Republicans, so and then they have a lot of Republican friends, so they know the mentality, and they know why people are voting for Trump, and they know why people feel the way they do, because you know that's their friends, that they're in that circle, right? And they're also consuming conservative media, hopefully critically, so they know the right-wing point of view, and they can sort of help to, you know, basically let people understand both perspectives rather than just having it from one side. Anyway, those are my thoughts. This is the Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. And I'm out.